The UFC is headed to one of the most famous arenas on planet Earth, and they are taking two of the greatest fighters we have seen in our generation. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks, and I'm going to break down the entire UFC 309 fight card, giving you my picks, predictions, and bets. But before we do that, let's spend a few seconds and look backwards at UFC Vegas 100. Overall, that was a spectacular night for the boys. The bets hit, the picks hit. Artem picked a perfect card, and the fights were great as well. We had more finishes than we had seen in a very long time, and we just found out how good Carlos Prates actually is, because not only did we see the signature striking and the ultimate knockout, and my head tilted when I said it because the finish was a bit bizarre, but we also got to see him defend a bunch of takedowns, end up on top, and overall have a well-rounded game plan. If you want to hear the deep dive into that card, well, my Home Alone face thumbnail is on the channel. Go watch that video. I filmed it immediately following the event. Here's a closer look at the bets from last night. UFC Vegas 100 was a successful night for us. The safety parlay hit. That is the sixth safety parlay in a row. 4 of those 6 were plus money. The safety parlay is on a heater, and I hate to push it too much because you can't win every bet every single week. That's impossible. And the safety parlay takes a bunch of pressure with it. It has the word safe in it, so people assume that means 100%. So yes, it is on a heater, and I am very proud of it, and it continues to be the beacon of stability in this space. But damn it, sometimes you just never know. But honestly, great card last night. Almost 3 units in net profit, a 26% return on your investment. And when you're looking at these things, that ROI number is the most important number. It's easy to put up a few units of profit when you risk hundreds of units. But if you keep it tight and you're bringing out the big guns and you have some solid ROI, that's how you know things are going well. But it wasn't just last night that was successful. Here's a look at my last 11 cards. Big Ange with the sweet John Bones Jones Young LA shirt on has been doing quite well. Basically 11 units of profit in the last 11 cards. 10 of those 11 were up money. I lost a couple of bucks on UFC Paris. That card ended up being sketchy, but another 26% ROI long term. These are GOAT numbers. These are astonishing numbers. If you're new to sports betting, I promise you, it is not this easy. I promise you, a streak like this is an all-timer. If you're not new, well, then you already know the deal. If you do want to unlock all the picks, the bets, the tools, and everything else, not just for this card, but for an entire month, it's only $10. We're in the volume business. I'm like the Costco guys, baby. We're the Costco business. We're all about volume. We have over 4,000 premium members, and all you need to do is check the comment section of any recent video to see how happy they actually are. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. It's freaking $10 for an entire month. And I would rate it 5 booms. Boom. But no, we're not doing that. You're going to get more than just some copy-paste bets. You're also going to get tools. The Data Analyzer is a tool that we coded from scratch. We coded it. Not me, because I can't do shit like that, but we coded it. It's going to have access to every single fight card that's on the books. You can then go into those fight cards, pick your fighter, get all the stats you could ever want or need, and then add filters. The example you're seeing here is how many takedowns does this person average in wins, in losses, in decision wins. Any stat you could ever want or need, stack the filters. You'll get the chart. You click on a plot point of the chart. The video pops up. You watch the fights themselves. You also get access to the greatest DraftKings ownership projections on planet Earth. Here's the numbers for UFC Vegas 100. We smoked the Roto Grinders, the Skotastics. We smoked them all. Because that's what we do here. We put out a phenomenal product at an insane price point of only $10 a month. Those ownership projections are preloaded into the DraftKings Optimizer. You're also going to have access to the line movement tracker. This is going to give you the opening odds, the current odds, the win probability, and the line movement for every fighter on every card. You're going to have access to the Prop Hunter, a curated set of data specifically designed to help you find prop bets. And you're going to have access to Artem and the artificial intelligence. And this is usually like an afterthought slide, like, oh, and there's more. But Artem picked a perfect card at UFC Vegas 100. An absolutely perfect card. And that's not the first time that he's had a phenomenal night. His pick percentage this year is well over 70%. So check out Artem's picks and bets, mine, Jacob's, all of those tools that we just run through, a bunch of things we didn't run through, and the artificial intelligence. It's freaking $10. $10 for an entire month. What's today? November 10th. This gets you to December 10th if you sign up right now for freaking $10. WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. This is a pay-per-view. And on pay-per-views, we film vlogs. And one of these things in the vlog is the mail day. We've got some mail to open up. This letter that was sent to us is addressed to Angelica. I don't know what's in here, but we will find out together. It's going to be sketchy. I don't know if the camera's not picking up on that. I see what is like a bottle cap, so I don't know what's in here. Let's hope it's not a powdery substance. We also unbox packages. One of those packages is an young LA drop. They did a collab with the UFC. I've got all their shirts. We're going to open those up. I'm wearing the John Bones Jones one right now. If you want to send something for the vlog, for mail day, if you have a small business that could benefit from a little bit of a shout out, I am happy to do it. We Want Picks, P.O. Box 406 in Prosper, Texas, 75078. Opening up the UFC 309 fight card, we got Veronica Hardy taking on Eduarda Moura. And Veronica Hardy is good. She's on a nice little streak here. She's a 5-time Taekwondo champion. And I just got through that correctly because if you watch this video, you'll see I finished the promo and then there was a hard cut to opening up. That's because I got tongue-tied on 5-time Taekwondo 6 times. And I just kept doing it and messing it up and doing it and messing it up. And now I basically just mess it up again by telling you all the times I mess it up. By the way, 5-time Taekwondo, got it, champion. Solid power, good footwork, technical striker. She is light on her feet. She is very fast. She likes to bounce around on those toes and then charge forward with lefts and rights before circling out. She's not just a striker, though. She's got clean takedowns, great game planning. She has high fight IQ, and she can get a fight to the ground if she needs to. She is coming off that decision win over J.J. Aldrich, where she was fast as hell, and it was clear that she was hitting very, very hard. She's taking on Eduarda Moura. Eduarda Moura is a grappler. She's got good takedowns, good submissions. She is very aggressive with the grappling, and she wastes absolutely zero time coming across the cage. She will initiate a takedown and just start working. Her striking is a bit sloppy, but like so many others, it is just there to set up the takedowns. She's coming off that loss to Diniz Gomes, where she had the takedowns but could not hang in the striking. And Eduarda might lose this fight the exact same way she lost to Diniz Gomes. Get completely outstruck, have a couple of takedowns on the way. Veronica can hang. She can bang, baby. That was such a win. I also think she wins here. Obviously, this is New York City. And if that commission gives a little more credit to control time than we usually see in like Vegas, or they give more credit to control time than we like to see with credit towards damage, then it could be a weird decision. But I think Veronica Hardy gets it done. She will probably be taken down 1 or 2 times on the way. But the striking is so good. It's so fast. It's so powerful. And Eduarda Moura is going to pieced up on the way in. It's important to note that Veronica Hardy is married to Dan Hardy because not that he was like an all-time great fighter or anything, but he was always a smart fighter. Communicates well, communicates effectively, understood the game. So it's very clear that he's coaching Veronica very well because her evolution from Taekwondo champion to well-rounded MMA fighter is very, very solid. Then we have Oban Elliott taking on Bassil Hafez. This is another interesting fight. This should be really fun. And this card is not stacked with a ton of names. The UFC is advertising it as like the best pay-per-view of the year or the most exciting well, that's not true. That's just not true. Now, may it deliver? It might. UFC Vegas 100 on paper sucked, and that fight card delivered. So this might deliver. It's not a bad pay-per-view by any means, but it's certainly not one that they stacked. And this is the problem with some UFC events. First of all, this is towards the end of the year. They're running out of people. I get it. People get hurt along the way. Like, it's fine. But sometimes when the UFC has their top 1% earners like John Jones, like Conor McGregor, they top-heavy the card. And we do have a top-heavy card here. That's the boxing method. But we still have 12 fights. We're going to end up with probably 13 or 14. I expect new fights to be added because we had 14 and 2 dropped. So over the next 3 or 4 days, they'll slap something together. I'm almost positive. But 2, that doesn't mean these fights aren't fun as hell. And this is going to be a fun one. Because Oban Elliott's a well-rounded guy. He can fight for a full 15 minutes. He's got plenty of cardio, tons of tools in the bag. When he's striking, he likes to dance around on the outside. He'll fire off overhands. He'll come right in. He's fast. He's athletic. He's got flashy spins. Takedown defense is just okay, though. If he is taken down, he works to his feet well. He doesn't chase submissions that aren't there. He is coming off that decision win over Preston Parsons where they exchanged takedowns, but Oban had the cleaner striking. And he's going to be in for it because he's taking on Bassil Hafez. This guy's a heavy-handed grappler. His striking is loose and very powerful. And even though you will see the check hook knockout highlight when you're doing your own tape study, he's not really a striker. He's just a very tough, has a ton of power, and is a good grappler who's going to shoot blast doubles and look to maintain positions while raining down elbows. He's a high-paced guy both on the feet and on the ground, but his cardio can fade him a bit later in the fight. He is coming off that busy win over Gall, where he had 3 takedowns. And Oban is the favorite here. And on the surface, I guess I can kind of see that, right? The cardio should be the difference if you're looking at it from that angle. But he also is not very dangerous, so he's not going to finish Bassil, and he can be taken down. So if Bassil's cardio is just a smidge better than we've seen before, I think he wins this fight. I love his pressure. I love the takedowns. I'm going to pick him as an underdog here. I'm going to keep an eye out on that line movement tracker, see if we can get better value. If the line is moving in my favor, meaning if Bassil's becoming a bigger and bigger underdog, I'm going to go ahead and place a bet. If it's starting to tighten and I'm already seen the peak, then I'll place the bet then. I will end up with a bet on Bassil Hafez because I think he gets it done. Look at the guy. That doesn't look like a guy that messes around. I'm not going to say any mean things about anybody. Then we got Gall. All-time losing streak, somehow still in the UFC. Gall taking on Ramiz Brahimaj. Also, not great. This is what I talked about. This is a very top-heavy fight card. Gall's a pretty good grappler, though. He's got good submissions, both off of his back and on top. If you watch him fight, it's a bit raw. He's not as put together as a guy who's been in the UFC for almost 10 years. And that's because, and I've talked about this before, he started his UFC career his professional MMA career in the UFC. So he didn't have the normal regional career where he can learn against other people around his skill level. They just brought him in like his second fight ever. And they're like, here's CM Punk. And yeah, CM Punk's a wrestler who sucks at fighting, but you're not going to get any experience on the regional scene. You're just in the biggest promotion on the planet. And then he had 2 great wins, CM Punk and then Sage Northcutt. And then after that, they're like, whoa, Gall could be very good. So then he started fighting people that were just too good for him, started losing, never really got better. So Gall, at 32 years old, has a ton of UFC experience, but he never was able to develop his skills the normal way on the regional skill. He does have raw talent, and he is pretty good. His hands aren't terrible. He's pretty athletic. The wrestling is good. The grappling is very good. And he's tough. He's taking on Ramiz Brahimaj. Ramiz Brahimaj, they call him like a world-level jiu-jitsu guy, world-caliber grappler. They run through the accolades. And while he does have some very high-level grappling accolades, it's a new era. Everybody can grapple. He doesn't use his grappling as much as he should, especially somebody with his credentials. He tends to grapple off his back, and grappling off your back in 2024 is very different than getting takedowns and being on top. When he strikes, he does have some good power in his hands. He does have some success, but he doesn't have enough to win just striking. All 10 of his wins are by submission, and it's very easy to say, and it would be an objective fact to say that Ramiz Brahimaj is submission or bust. He is coming off that decision, loss to Themba Gorimbo, where he just could not defend the takedowns. And yeah, he could work off his back, and he's an accomplished grappler, but it's 2024. People aren't really getting submitted by random arm bars or triangle chokes anymore. In scrambles, sure, those things happen. But just shooting a takedown and playing in somebody's guard, that's just not happening nowadays. And that's the problem with people like Ramiz. The jiu-jitsu's good, but he didn't work on the scramble skills. Didn't work on the offensive takedowns. So now he's just playing the guard game off his back. And part of me does want to bet here. These odds are dead even, minus 110 on both sides. But betting on a low-level fight like this is an insane thing to do. And that's why they call me self-control Ange. You don't get this body. You don't get, come on, get it in the frame. It's hard to fit in the frame. The muscles are so big. You don't get that without self-control. I could walk by a buffet, right? Just cheese, queso, chips. We got salsa, guac. I could walk right by it, not eating for 3 days. And I have the self-control to just keep moving. Just keep moving. I don't need that. That's how I get this body. Self-control. And that same self-control that keeps me slim and trim also prevents me from betting on dog shit fights. That's what we got here. I'm going to pick Gall to win. I think Mickey should win here. He's a very good grappler in his own right, so Ramiz isn't going to submit him. Mickey's the better wrestler of the two. So I think Mickey wins this fight. But betting on a low-level fight like this, betting on a guy that's 1-4 in his last 5, who doesn't have a single win over an active roster UFC fighter, is a ridiculous thing to do. So slim, trim, self-control Ange isn't going to do it. And you shouldn't either. I am going to bet on this fight, though. We got Marcin Tybura taking on a Jhonata Diniz. Jhonata Diniz was supposed to fight last week? Yes, last week. Depending when you're watching this. 2 events ago. But he didn't. Derek Lewis pulled out. We didn't get to see that fight, so they quickly rebooked him, threw him against Marcin Tybura on this card. And I'm happy for it, because otherwise we would have an 11-fight card, and that would kind of be frustrating for a pay-per-view. But we'll start on the Marcin Tybura side. Yeah, he's got a ridiculous haircut, and this picture doesn't do it any justice because it's only getting worse. Actually, the funny part there is he's addressed the haircut. It's like a sideways mohawk. This is an old picture, so it looks like a proper one. It's a crooked-ass mohawk that goes like almost horizontal. And they're like, what's up with the haircut? He's like, I'm losing my hair and trying to hide it. And that was an all-time answer. Good for, I mean, the honesty out of this guy is fantastic. Didn't we just, no, I'm losing my hair, so I'm just trying to hide it. Good for him. He's a durable grinder. He never quits. He's busy everywhere. His striking is just okay. It's sort of a punches in bunches, right? He is a heavyweight, but he's not knocking anybody out. He's just coming forward, staying busy. The strikes are really there just to set up the takedowns. If he gets a takedown, he's going to pound on you until you quit. He doesn't need to look for submissions. He averages a little more than 1 takedown per fight, and he has a low 33% accuracy, but he will stick with it. He will come forward, and he will continue to shoot those takedowns. Instead of clean doubles and shots right up the middle, he's going to work some body locks, some trips, get you against the cage. He is coming off that first-round submission loss to a very good grappler, Sergey Spivak. He's taken on Brazil's Jhonata Diniz. He's a very good striker. I'm emphasizing striker here. He's got clean technique, incredible power. He does throw in combinations. Clean defense, good speed for his size, and he has professional kickboxing experience. His takedown defense is solid, but it is relatively untested. He's only 8-0, but he does have 7 stoppages. He's coming off that decision win over Carl Williams, where he landed big early. He looked great. And then a 3/4 knocked out Carl Williams, was able to get some takedowns. And when Jhonata was on his back, I mean, that guy was useless. He couldn't do shit off his back. And for that reason, we're picking Marcin. He's old. He's slow as hell. The haircut's insane. You'll see it. And he's not amazing. But he is a grinder that can get fights to the ground, and we saw how utterly useless Jhonata Diniz is on the ground. So this should be Marcin. Obviously, he's old, and he's going to have to eat some shots on the way in, and that's not going to be something easy to watch. But if he can get it to the cage, and he can drag Jhonata to the ground, then we are good as gold. So I'm going to pick him. We don't have odds here yet. This is a newer fight, and for some reason, sports books are holding out. I'm hoping Marcin is a dog. And if he's a dog, take a wild guess where the money's going. And if you don't have premium, sign up. And then after you sign up, link the Discord. The Discord is how you're going to get some alerts. As we're placing bets, you're going to get alerts on your phone. Oh, Angelo just placed a Marcin Tybura bet. I guess those odds did drop. So if you're premium, on your account page, click link to Discord. If you're not premium, I don't know what else we have to do. Up 10 of the last 11 cards, week in and week out. Greatest tools on the planet. And if you're like, oh, last week's card was easy, go to Twitter. Go to Twitter. Check out how some of those guys did. Do people manage to lose multiple units on UFC Vegas 100? Crazy. Some people just suck at this, guys. We don't. Then we have the always tough, the gritty, the Jersey tough Jim Miller taking on the new hair, Damon Jackson. Jim Miller's a legend. He has multiple records in the UFC for longevity. He's the only fighter to have ever fought at UFC 100, UFC 200, and UFC 300. Think about that time span. And Jim Miller was on all of those cards, and he was already established by the time he fought on UFC 100. He's a very good grappler, clean boxing, okay wrestling. He's got all that veteran savvy, the toughness, the grit that you would want from a fighter. He's definitely starting to show his age, but he continues to defy it in the octagon. Well, he'll always show up on weight. He'll always be ready to go. And he may need a walker heading into this cage with the tennis balls in the front, but he will get to this cage ready to go. He is 41 years old and coming off a very one-sided loss to Bobby Green at UFC 300. He's taking on Damon Jackson. Damon Jackson's basically a bigger Jim Miller, but the striking isn't as good. He's a very good grappler. He'll snatch things up in scrambles. He is willing to slug it out on the feet, and then he'll use that to set up his takedowns. He doesn't typically have a lot of power, but he does land some heavy shots and immediately look to wrestle. He's got a low takedown accuracy, but that doesn't mean he's not shooting over and over again. And the nickname's the Leech because if he gets you to the ground, it is very hard to get him out of there. He has solid control. He'll roll with you. He'll find those submissions. He'll make you pay in the exchanges. He is coming off that tough loss to Chepe Mariscal, where he showed the toughness, but Chepe just beat him to the exchanges. Chepe was just winning the scrambles, and Chepe's pressure is next level. Picking against Jim Miller, even in his advanced age here, is not an easy decision. He's an absolute dog. He's on no quitting him, but I'm still doing it. Damon has showed striking improvements, and we know he can wrestle. Jim's black belt is impressive, but it's old. It's the same thing I just mentioned about Ramiz Brahimaj. The sports change. Like every sport, jiu-jitsu has evolved. So has MMA. So has UFC. Gone are the days where just having a black belt would strike fears into somebody's eyes. I think Damon hangs in the striking. I think he gets the takedown. I think he cruises on top. And I don't think he's ever going to be in any danger here on the ground. So I threw a half a unit on Damon Jackson at minus 115. My only concern would be Jim Miller striking here. But Damon doesn't typically waste any time and just starts wrestling immediately. So we should be good to go. And I trust that half a unit bet. And let me rewind for a second. I mentioned Jim Miller's had a black belt for a very long time. I should probably do a hot take. I'm curious what you guys think about jiu-jitsu black belts. Is it like a doctorate? Like you get it once and then you have it forever? Or should you have to renew it? Should you have to evolve with the sport? Because there are people that got their black belt 20 years ago. They've done nothing with it or they never changed their game. Those people aren't good anymore. The sport is different. Jiu-jitsu is different now than it was 20 years ago. I got my blue belt in 2004. I have had a jiu-jitsu blue belt for 20 years. And I can promise you, it is a different sport. So somebody like Jim Miller, and I'm not trying to shit on Jim. I'm just using him as an example because he's had his black belt for so long. Somebody like Jim Miller who's had a black belt for 20 years, do you think they can compete with the new age black belts? I personally don't. Completely different sport. I'm curious. They should almost have a belt reduction system. You earn your way up to black belt. And if you're not evolving, then you go down. Oh, well, you're a brown in 2024. Yeah, you were a black belt then, but you're a brown. Almost like rankings in any other sport. All right, random rant. Curious what you guys think. Then we have one of my favorite fighters, I would say, Chris Weidman taking on Eryk Anders. I love Chris Weidman. First of all, former world champion. Beat an all-timer in Anderson Silva twice. But he's also hilarious. If you don't watch the pay-per-view weigh-in shows, it's usually Chris Weidman, Laura Sanko, that other dude, I don't know his name, and then Daniel Cormier. And it's just a good time. They're just busting balls, having fun, hanging out. And Chris Weidman's a guy that you want to be in a backyard with a beer throwing a Frisbee with. He's just funny and cool. And they're setting him up for success here, or they're at least trying to, because he's 40 years old. He's also an old-timer. Former middleweight champion of the world. He was the first champion out of the Serra Longo fight gym, obviously not including Matt Serra, who's half that name. He's a great wrestler. He wrestled in college. He's a solid striker, and he's had a great career. He's an all-time personality, arguably an all-time middleweight, but he is 40. He is slowing down, and he is coming off that infamous double eye poke over Bruno Silva. He's taking on Eryk Anders. Not only does he spell his name like a psychopath, he's also an athlete. He can wrestle, he can strike. He's competed at multiple sports at a very high level, and you can see that. He mixes his punches and kicks together really well. He's got okay speed, but he does keep his hands a little too low, and that's gotten him in trouble in the past. His path to victory in most fights is wrestle. He comes forward, he shoots the takedowns, and he's doing that with the aggressive speed and the physicality. Then he'll keep people there and beat them up. He is rarely the more technical fighter in the cage, often the more athletic one, the more physical one. And he's coming off that win over Jamie Pickett, where he looked strong, but he got dropped. He got dropped by Jamie Pickett. That ain't great. That ain't great. This is set up to give Weidman a win. They looked at it and they're like, all right, Chris Weidman's a former world champion. Let's get him at MSG. He's a New York guy. Let's get him in the New York card. And they're like, who can he fight that he should be able to win? And if you run through the middleweight division, it's either like crazy, like super low level guys, which you can't really do, high level guys, and then you have another aging in-betweener like Eryk Anders. And that's what this is set up for. The odds don't feel that way. Chris Weidman is the dog here. And it's not going to be an easy win for Chris. But post-USADA, and I'm not accusing him of anything, post-USADA Weidman definitely looks a lot better than the Weidman who came back after his leg injury. And he can win. He's definitely the better fighter in this matchup. Anders didn't exactly look great in his last fight against the guy who's not UFC caliber and was cut. So I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to pick my Northeast brethren in Chris Weidman. Both have chins that are gone. Both are tough. I'm expecting a sloppy-ass fight, but it should be a fun fight here. So Weidman's going to be the pick. I'll be rooting for my boy. I don't know if I'm going to bet here. I can't bet on a 40-year-old Chris Weidman. Not even like an inside-the-distance decision, no action, because he could get finished. So we're going to leave it alone. We're just going to enjoy this one. Then we got Jonathan Martinez taking on Marcus McGhee. This is a very good fight. Two very good fighters at sort of different points in their career. Jonathan Martinez looked phenomenal, was working his way up, lost to Jose Aldo, and he's looking to rebound from that. Marcus McGhee, only 10 fights into his career, looking unbelievable. This is a very good fight, and I am looking forward to this. Jonathan Martinez is a well-rounded guy. He's got technical striking, slick BJJ. He also has that Muay Thai style up here, hands up, really nice leg kicks. He'll use those to control range. He doesn't go to his wrestling very often, but when he does, he's got slick submissions that he can snatch up in scrambles. He is coming off that loss, as I mentioned, to Jose Aldo, where, yes, Jose looked good, but also looked like Jonathan was sort of frozen by the moment, a little lost. Maybe he literally was fighting his idol in his hometown, and it just got to him. So he was pretty clearly outstruck in that fight. He's taking on Marcus McGhee, an insanely powerful guy with heavy hands, good takedowns, one-punch knockouts all over his career. His takedown defense is solid. He's got slick submissions that he uses in scrambles. He sets a nice pace. He carries his power late into fights. He is coming off that knockout win over Gaston Bolanos, who we just saw win at UFC Vegas 100, the only underdog who won. And Marcus smoked him. Marcus was a little hittable in that fight, but we saw the wrestling and we saw the power. And Jonathan Martinez is a very good fighter. And I'm a Marcus McGhee fanboy. Not only is he great to watch fighting, he puts out some solid YouTube content cooking steaks and stuff. And I think Marcus gets it done. He's a far more dangerous fighter. He does have a few different paths to victory here with the wrestling, with the power. My only concern is Marcus's gas tank. And while we haven't seen him gas, right? I haven't seen with my own eyes, oh, this guy's gas tank. But he has so many damn finishes, and it would not be the first time we have seen somebody have this rise, finish everybody in the world, and then actually get into a tough back and forth fight and completely gas and fail that test. A fight with Jonathan in the late third round could get a little tricky, but I am picking Marcus McGhee here. I think he gets it done. I'm pretty confident in that, and I trust my boy. And I also trust that you want $50. And if you want $50, I'll send it to you. Go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Use our link to sign up with any one of our affiliate partners. Make a deposit, and we'll send you $50 as a thank you. It's affiliate marketing. You go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Use the link. You sign up. You make a deposit. They're going to pay me. I slice off some of that money, and I give it right back to you. It's very easy, very straightforward situation. You can then use that $50 to become a premium member and unlock bets like these. These are the last 11 cards. I am up money, the 10 of the last 11 cards, almost 11 units of net profit. So basically 1 unit per card on average, and that includes the losing week that was UFC Paris. A 26% ROI. A 26% ROI. If you know anything about math or sports betting, you know how absolutely astonishing this is. So go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. It's freaking $10. You'll have access till December 10th. Every single card between now and then, you will have full access to. And that doesn't just include the bets, it's also including all the tools, one of which is the data analyzer, which is quite literally the greatest research tool in history. And don't forget, it's mail day. We film vlogs for the pay-per-views. UFC 309 is a pay-per-view. We will be filming a vlog. We will be opening mail on that vlog. I got a couple of letters we're going to open. I have the Young LA drop. This is the John Jones shirt. I got the Hezbollah shirt, Sean O'Malley shirt, and a couple others as well. If you want to send something, we want picks. P.O. Box 406, Prosper, Texas 75078. And finally, here's a thumbnail for my latest hot take. I'm trying to do more of that content, right? We're going to keep doing the picks and the bets and all these breakdowns, especially because we're so wildly successful. But I also want to start doing other opinion-based stuff. We're calling it hot takes because that's what we're calling it. I'm not clever. The latest video, which we just dropped yesterday, is who is the all-time UFC GOAT? Spoiler, not Jon Jones. Watch that video. Let me know what you think. Opening up the UFC 309 main card, we have Mauricio Ruffy taking on James Llontop. And Mauricio Ruffy is good. This guy is nasty. He has huge fight-ending power. He has 10 wins with 10 stoppages. He'll throw heavy 1-2s. He will do it fast and clean. And he's not just a boxer, though. He'll launch kicks right up the middle. He'll defend takedowns really well. We've seen him carry power into the third round, which was nice to see because we got a glimpse of the cardio. And while it wasn't spectacular cardio, we know he's not going to death gas. He's coming off that win over Jamie Mullarkey, where the timing and the speed were absolutely incredible. He started to feel himself so much that he tried a scissor sweep takedown, like out of a karate movie. It looked like the Karate Kid TV show. Cobra Kai, when they're fighting in the mall. These are kids in 2024 fighting in a mall. And it's like, hi-ya, hi-ya. That's what it looked like. He's taking on James Llontop. James is a pretty well-rounded guy himself. He's got solid striking, good combinations, good body work. He doesn't look for offensive takedowns, but if he is taken down, he's got solid enough grappling and a good enough get-up game. He's got power in his hands, plenty of cardio, so no need to worry that he is KO or bust. Overall, he's a dangerous striker himself. He can hang. He can avoid some danger, but he's not very technical, and he's going to make up for that with some blind pressure. He is coming off that close loss to Vyacheslav Bodashev. James is a tough guy, and he's not super easy to get out of there, but Mauricio probably will get him out of there. He's an insanely good striker. He has movement that resembles a prime Conor McGregor, the super wide, the in and out. James is likely going to be a punching bag here. Another showcase win for the dangerous prospect in Mauricio Ruffy. It could literally look almost exactly like the Protez fight. They're on the same team. They're both phenomenal strikers, and we could see the defending of cage takedowns, real clean distance striking, but very confident in Mauricio Ruffy here. Then we have the Battle of the Hair. We got Karine Silva taking on Viviane Araújo. The hair is wild. I love Karine Silva. Ton of fun to watch, and I love the hair. It's a real pain in the dick when I build these graphics, though, because it takes up so much of the screen. But I love it. And I think Karine wins. But we'll talk about it. Hey, let me build some anticipation. Who's he going to pick? Karine Silva, powerful grappler. Constantly working for submissions both off top and bottom. She has 18 wins with 17 stoppages. And those are a mixed bag of ground and pound and submissions. She's going to plot forward, nice tight guard in her feet, throw a flurry of punches, then rush in, body clinch, cage work you to the ground. While she's on the ground, she is constantly working for positions and then submissions. She's coming off her first career decision over Ariane Lipski, where she had the takedowns, had the control, and it was nice to see that Karine could go to a decision. She's taking on Viviane Araújo. She's also a grappler. She's very comfortable striking as well. She's got technical boxing, great low kicks, but she does get hit pretty often and has a negative striking differential. She's athletic. She's fast. She's always looking for a finish, both on the feet and on the ground, but her conditioning can be an issue for her later rounds because of all the pressure she brings. She averages almost 2 takedowns per fight. She has an impressive 78% takedown defense, and she's coming off that decision loss to Natalia Silva. Karine Silva is very good. So is Viviane Araújo. This is a good matchup at this weight class. It's a great test to see how good Karine actually is. We just got to see her in her first decision. That helps the pick here because Vivi is tough. She's not somebody you're just going to blow through and get her out of there in 2 seconds. Vivi's a gamer, fantastic takedown defense. She can definitely play spoiler here, but the pick is going to be Karine. I think it's going to be a close one. I think she's going to get some well-timed takedowns. But Karine minus 265, that value's gone. And self-control, Angie's self-control, they call me in the neighborhood. I don't know if I can bet on Karine Silva here at minus 265. And then the round over, which is a typical, like, it's women. Let's do the round over. That's not something we can really trust either because Karine has 17 finishes. So I'm probably going to leave this one on the plate. Maybe Karine inside the distance decision, no action, but that's probably going to be insanely juiced. So we'll see what happens when the props drop, but for now, we're just going to leave this one on the table. And then we got Bo Nickel. One of the best middleweight prospects we've ever seen, taking on Paul Craig. And Bo Nickel is getting slow-rolled here. Let's not pretend he isn't. Yeah, he's 6-0, and he should be slow-rolled, but this fight is beneath him. So let's pick him to win and move on. But we're not going to do that, are we? We're going to talk about Bo for a minute here. Division I national champion. He was an Olympian. No, wait, he missed the Olympic team. Was he on the Olympics? No, he missed the Olympic team. I'm thinking Ben Askren. Phenomenal wrestler nonetheless. D1 national champion out of Penn State. He's obviously an incredible wrestler. He transitioned to MMA, and he's taken those wrestling skills with him. He strikes as little as possible. He'll work in some takedowns, and he gets his jiu-jitsu going. The jiu-jitsu is very good. In fact, he strikes so little that he has landed a total of 23 significant strikes in his career. 23 significant strikes over 6 fights. That's a ridiculously low statistic. He's coming off that second round submission over Cody Brundage. He's taking on Paul Craig. Paul Craig's a dangerous grappler. He's proven to be incredibly tough. He'll never be out of a fight, right? He'll just get his ass kicked, take his beating, and then throw up a Hail Mary later at some point. He's managed to pull off many come-from-behind victories. Essentially, if he has room to grapple, you need to worry. Bo Nickel doesn't need to worry, though, because Bo Nickel is a very good grappler. He grappled against Gordon Ryan, and yeah, ultimately he lost that, but there were no punches in that, and Paul Craig is not Gordon Ryan. But the Bo Nickel, so obviously Bo's the pick, clear as day, blah, blah, blah. The game plan's going to be interesting, though, because he obviously can get this to the ground and do whatever he wants. But what he might end up doing here is strike, because Paul's a guy that's not dangerous on the feet, and Bo might want to be testing those striking skills. This is literally a perfect matchup for Bo to be like, all right, let's find out how good my hands are or are not. We just watched Caio Borralho knock out Paul Craig standing. And Bo Nickel might do more of the same. Like, okay, let me come in here, we'll play. If I get in any trouble, I'll take him down, no problem. So I don't know what to do as far as a bet, because we may get a KO instead of a submission. We may, I mean, a decision would be wild. Bo Nickel's going to run through Paul Craig. I'm just curious how much striking he's going to do before then. I mentioned he has only landed 23 significant strikes in his entire career. He may land more than that in the first round here. Bo Nickel's the clear as day pick. Then we got Charles Oliveira taking on Michael Chandler. This is a rematch. We've seen this fight before when Charles was champion. What I will say, I'm a little iffy on this fight. On one hand, I have my pick in Charles Oliveira, and I'll tell you why. On the other hand, there is that picture of Michael Chandler going around, and he is in ridiculous shape. The best shape he has ever been in. He's also a little older, right? He's 38. He doesn't have a lot of time left. And while he spent the last couple of years of his career being fun, because he knows that's how you get the big paydays, I think he also recognizes he needs a win. And he may come in here and fight a smart game plan, because a Michael Chandler who fights smart, uses the collegiate wrestling, keeps a high, tight guard. That Michael Chandler can win this fight. He can win a lot of fights. But the Michael Chandler who comes out all fun and aggressive, looking for a good time, bombing away, not wrestling, well, that Michael Chandler has already lost to Charles Oliveira. So it will be interesting to see what we get. The guy hasn't fought in a couple of years. He's been sitting and waiting for Conor McGregor, and not to his fault, not any fault of his own, that fight didn't come to fruition. Conor broke his pinky toe and pulled out. So Michael Chandler might be a new version of himself, 2 years removed from his last fight, knowing he needs a win. The best shape we have literally ever seen him. Go find that clip or that picture. He looks unbelievable. But Charles Oliveira is still good. Charles Oliveira is one of the most well-rounded fighters on the planet. All-time submission king, has most submission wins ever in the UFC. He averages 2+ takedowns of his own. So not only does he just get taken down and throw submissions up off his back, he'll get his own takedowns. The striking is clean. It's aggressive. The last time they fought, he sniped Michael Chandler and got it done from there. He is coming off that loss at UFC 300 to Arman Tsarukyan. Arman Tsarukyan won that fight pretty clearly, but it got dicey a few times with a couple of submission attempts on the Charles side. And Michael Chandler, as I mentioned, very good collegiate wrestler, heavy power in his hands. But you just don't know how that guy is going to fight. Again, for the 5th time, Michael Chandler has looked the best he has ever looked physically. No diddy. The problem is, we have seen this fight. And I don't know if we can trust Michael Chandler's self-control. I'm self-control Ange. That's how I got this body. And obviously he's got a great body. It rivals mine. So he's got some self-control with his eating. But does he have that self-control in the cage? Does Michael Chandler show up and fight smart, or does he show up and fight exciting? As a fan, I love, be exciting. Go for it. Great. Every Michael Chandler fight is fun. You can't point to a boring Michael Chandler fight. So I love it. On the other hand, if he's trying to crank out a couple of wins before he retires, he does need to win. I don't know what we're going to get out of here. I have to pick Charles Oliveira because I know what I'm going to get from him. Incredible, well-rounded, accurate striking, and very dangerous BJJ. But there's just something burning in my stomach, and it's not like diarrhea or anything because I do have a lot of self-control and I haven't eaten anything sketchy. So it's the burning is my insatiable need to pick Michael Chandler. I'm not going to do it. Self-control. But I am warning a lot of you. Don't throw Charles Oliveira in the 30 parlays. I could be wrong, right? You'd rather miss out on a payout than have them all break. Don't throw Charles Oliveira in 30 parlays. Yes, we've seen the fight. But there's just something about that Michael Chandler picture that really gets my juices flowing. No diddy. Then we have the main event of the evening. Arguably the UFC or MMA GOAT versus the literal heavyweight GOAT. Jon Jones is the light heavyweight GOAT, without question. He's probably the greatest of all time in MMA history. I have a whole video breaking down who I think the greatest of all time is. You can go watch that. It's called a hot take because it's very spicy. He's literally great everywhere. He's beaten more Hall of Famers than anybody else in the history of UFC. He is still the youngest champion of all time. Like, not right now, obviously, you idiot. But he has that record for youngest champion of all time. He's essentially undefeated. There's one loss in there, and that's beat the piss out of Matt Hamill and then got called for a north-south elbow. Stats-wise, Jon is impressive as hell. He has more than a 4-2 striking differential. A very solid 64% striking defense. He's a JUCO national wrestling champion. And he even out-wrestled Olympian Daniel Cormier more than once in their fights. Jon Jones is great at everything except being a decent human being. He's kind of a shit person, but he's a phenomenal fighter. And he's taking on the greatest heavyweight of all time. Stipe Miocic, and that's statistically speaking. Like, obviously, who you think the greatest of all time is an opinion. But statistically speaking, Stipe is the greatest heavyweight of all time. Most amount of title defenses, very well-rounded fighter. He's got great boxing, well-timed takedowns, and a very solid chin. Positive striking differential, almost 2 takedowns per fight, but he is coming off a ridiculously long layoff after losing his belt to Francis Ngannou. And I said it before, I'll say it again. According to the record books, Stipe Miocic is the greatest heavyweight of all time. He's also a full-time fireman who hasn't fought in 4 years, and he cannot win this slight. He's slow. He's old. He's rusty. Jon Jones likely takes him down before the first minute and then dominates from there. Jones doesn't even need to shoot a takedown to win here because he's so long and he will be the better striker, but he likely does. Jon Jones is going to win this fight. I think he makes it look easy. He looks to be in phenomenal shape. He showed up to the Cyril Gane fight, look a little soft. And from what we can see so far in this training camp, Jon Jones is looking fantastic at heavyweight. He's not cheap. He's minus 700, but he honestly should be minus 1,500, and he probably will be before the week is up. Jon Jones is going to win here, and then we could all argue and debate if he's a coward for not fighting Tom Aspinall. That's another argument for another day. Guys, that is the breakdown. Become a damn premium member. It's $10 a month. 4,000 of you, or actually, where it's like 4,086 of you are active premium members right now. So I want to thank you all. And the only way I really know how to thank you is obviously say it in the video, but also give you the best product we can give you. We have a huge announcement coming up in the next couple of weeks, but we also have new tools constantly, winning bets constantly. All that stuff is to reward the existing premium members and entice new ones. If you want to become a premium member now, it's freaking $10 an entire month. Go check our track record with bets. Go check the tools. Even if there was not a single bet on that website, the tools alone to help you do research, to help you find your own bets, is worth it. It's freaking $10. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. You'll unlock the data analyzer, the line movement tracker, the prop hunter, the DraftKings optimizer preloaded with the best DraftKings projections on the planet. And you're going to get more than just me and baby Jake. You're going to get Artem, who picked a perfect card at UFC Vegas 100. And you're going to get the artificial intelligence that's picking fights based solely off of historical data and doing so with remarkable accuracy. WeWantPicks.com. Click become a member. Let's ride out the rest of this year with a couple more wins. Guys, good luck this weekend. This should be an interesting card.